Hello everyone, thank you for being with us today, and we have a couple of things we need to speak with you about. You know, as we do these predator roundups, we typically do 10 or 12 at a time, and what I have requested them to focus on, I'd rather do less at a time than more at a time so they can get all the time they deserve on television to show that they're mean, ugly, nasty people. In this particular case, this started out as a child porn investigation. And as we were going to serve our search warrants, we found a predator, an active predator among the child pornographers. Now, as you know, this research has shown us in the past that like 85% of the child pornographers, the people who view child porn, would have sex with a child if given the opportunity or either have in the past. So let me start out with one of the most frightening, deviant people that we've seen here in a long time. His name is Ian Gadd. Ian is 23 years of age. And we went to his residence in search of child porn based upon a NCMEC tip. When we got there, what we found was 89 counts of child porn on his devices. 89 counts. But in those photographs of very young children, what did we find? We found a victim. Our investigation then led from our folks working child porn investigations to our special victims unit, where this very young child had been sexually battered at least 10 times by this guy. At least 10 times. And other lewd conduct occurred between this guy and this very young child. So currently he's charged with 10 counts of capital sexual battery. The investigation is ongoing at this time. He told us during this investigation the only reason he stopped transmitting child porn was because Instagram blocked him. So Instagram not only blocked him, but they reported him to NCMEC as is required by the federal law. I want to compliment Instagram today. Because they blocked him, because they reported him, we found a very young baby that he was actively sexually battering and in fact had their photograph. Now I want to trash Apple for a minute. Last year, I think they only reported 265 cases to NCMEC, while Facebook reported like 20 million, while Instagram reports. And Apple's obviously feeling the heat because, they're putting new algorithms or new systems in place so that they can better report. Well, I want the people of Apple to wonder how they would feel if this guy had have been sexually battering their very young little girl. Congratulations to Instagram for doing what was right. Because they did what was right, we stopped an ongoing activity where he was sexually battering a child. We know through our investigative techniques that this guy had groomed this little girl for over 3 months before engaging her in sex the first time. This is a very dangerous, let me say that one more time, a very dangerous child predator. He's locked up. The investigation's ongoing, and there's a chance there may be more charges. And then, of course, there's Billy Jordan Rose. He's charged with 38 counts of child porn. But what we noticed as we went through his different counts of child porn, his focus or his interest or the majority of things that we saw online were infants as young as in diapers. He had children up to like the age of 10 or 11, but he focused on infants. And he focused on infants that were being sexually battered. He confessed to us. But this is another person who, given the opportunity, would have sexually battered your children, in our estimation, based solely on the investigative conduct that we saw of him. And then there's Christian Osorio, 33 counts of child porn and 4 counts of transmission. He was a sales advisor for Best Buy in Davenport. He said he'd been watching child porn since he was 16 years of age. And the last one in this particular operation is Melvin Lagos, who's 18. We charged him with 32 different counts of child porn. Most of the children in his child porn were between the ages of 3 and 8 years old. He used and moved around on the social media platforms in order to try to keep from being identified. But of course, our detectives did an excellent job of tracking and finding him and his child porn. 32 counts. Now, as we give you these different counts, 32 counts, 38 counts, please understand that that's just the initial charges at the time of the search warrant. We've not gone through all of their different electronic devices. That will occur over the next weeks. So there's a great likelihood, because we usually, with rare exception, find additional child porn for which they'll be charged with in the future. Now, I have one more topic today, but before we get to that one, are there any questions about these child pornographers?
On the first one, you said he was molesting a very young child. How old?
We can't release her age because it would help lead to her identification. But when I tell you she's young, she's very young. He was not just molesting her, he was sexually battering her. Okay?
It's disturbing to ask, was she in the images that were taken?
Yes, she was.
When he was filming her?
And he was taking videos in addition to still shots. We can't see where he's published the videos yet. That's still under investigation. But he was videotaping himself sexually battering this very young little girl. There's not enough time or adjectives to explain my rage and frustration with someone that would do that, and then to take videos and pictures. We did see the pictures online, but not the video clips yet. But I can't imagine why he wouldn't share those, because it's bragging rights for these people that are deviants and that are crazy like that.
Sheriff, typically these guys are older. These seem to be fairly young. Does that indicate that they may have been sexually abused in their time?
Do you know, we have confessions from, I believe, all of them, but not one of them has said whether or not they may have been sexually abused as a child. However, that doesn't excuse your conduct. That may be something that they say because it's true. We've known that. We've had them say that just as to try to gain sympathy from us, even when it may not have been true. So we don't put a lot of validity in that, but regardless of that, it does not give you the right to sexually attack children. And, you know, the only way I can explain this is it was a very young little girl. She was verbal, so she wasn't an infant, but she was a verbal, and she was well aware of what happened to her. And quite frankly, she was coached not to talk, so it was a difficult investigation.